Welcome back. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan says the racist Hindu supremacist Indian government has deprived Kashmiris of all basic amenities during the ongoing lockdown. Khan said the world must understand the plight of Kashmiris who are living without medical, financial and communication facilities or food assistance for 8 months. The Prime Minister said there are ongoing protests against lockdowns worldwide, including the developed world. Khan said despite this, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government has ensured that Kashmiris are deprived of all basic amenities in the valley during the ongoing crisis. The occupied valley has been facing a critical health crisis due to the lockdown and communication blackout, which has been in place since 5th August. The new coronavirus has killed over 170,000 people worldwide, while almost 2.5 million have been infected. In Spain, the death toll from the virus has now again risen with 430 fatalities in the past 24 hours, up from 399 yesterday. Iran has reported 88 new deaths, increasing the total to nearly 5,300. Earlier, the United States recorded 1,500 fatalities in the past 24 hours, raising the total to over 42,000. Further details in this report.
Protests in opposition to the lockdowns enforced to contain COVID-19 in many countries are becoming a major challenge for authorities. In the U.S., medical workers and health experts cautioned that lifting lockdowns too soon risks unleashing a greater disaster. President Donald Trump has been accused of inciting insurrection after championing the demonstrators. But at a White House briefing, Trump urged Americans to continue social distancing efforts.
At a time when millions of American workers and families are struggling with the financial consequences of the virus, it's critical to continue the medical war while reopening the economy in a safe and responsible fashion. During this time, Americans must maintain strict vigilance and continue to practice careful hygiene, social distancing, and the other protective measures.
The International Committee of the Red Cross has stepped up efforts to prevent the spread of coronavirus in overcrowded prisons in South Asia. India recorded its biggest single-day spike in cases as the government eased lockdown, allowing some manufacturing and agricultural activity to resume. In Italy, the number of new infections has fallen for the first time since the country's outbreak began. After Italy, Spain, and the US, France has become the 4th country to cross 20,000 coronavirus deaths.
Tonight, our company passes a symbolic mark, a particularly painful one, and we sadly announce more than 20,000 deaths. Despite the French people's effort to scrupulously respect the confinement, physical and social distancing and other barrier gestures, the epidemic remains very fatal. And so we all have to stay vigilant, mobilized, conscious that our efforts should last and that we should not give up.
China has reported 11 new confirmed cases on the mainland with no new deaths. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia has banned all prayers inside the holy mosques in Mecca and Medina during the month of Ramadan.
Now, President Donald Trump says he will sign an executive order to temporarily suspend all immigration to the U.S. In a tweet, Trump says the measure will help fight the coronavirus and protect the jobs of American citizens. The White House has declined to comment about the reasoning behind the decision, its timing, or its legal basis. The U.S. economy has come to a near standstill as more than 22 million people applied for unemployment benefits during the past month. The U.S. is the worst hit country from COVID-19 with over 42,000 deaths. Pakistan has recorded highest single-day COVID-19 cases after 796 people tested positive in the country, while 16 more died. The country's death count stands at 192 and total number of infection cases at over 9,200. The Health Ministry said over 2,000 people have recovered from the disease so far. It said nearly 112,000 tests have been conducted across the country, with over 5,300 in the last 24 hours. Meanwhile, the International Monetary Fund has backed the government's construction package to support daily wages. Speaking at an online policy dialogue, IMF's representative in Islamabad, Teresa Daban Sanchez, expressed confidence in Pakistan's economic policies. In India, Modi's decision to extend a nationwide lockdown to halt the spread of the coronavirus has left thousands of migrant workers with no food or shelter. Now they have nowhere to go and are forced to collect scraps from the fields to survive. Let's take a look at the wretched condition of India's migrant workers in this report.
Migrant workers have been left at the mercy of circumstances in the financial hub of India. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi extended the nationwide lockdown on 1.3 billion people until 3rd May to contain the coronavirus. But it has been grossly mismanaged, leaving poor migrant workers stranded with no work and no way to reach home. Migrant workers fear they will starve to death even if they survive the pandemic.
Apart from financial problems, we have many more issues. We are running out of cooking gas and we don't have money to refill it. Everybody is trapped in the lockdown and nobody is going to help us. How will we cook food when there will be no cooking gas? I think we will die out of hunger rather than coronavirus.
तो हम लोग तो कोरोना वायरस से नहीं खाने से मर जाता है.
The lockdown sparked protests by jobless migrant workers in Mumbai earlier this week.
हमारा जो है डेली का earnings है.
We are daily wage workers and we run our family with those earnings. We have no income due to the lockdown. We're unable to pay the room rent. There's scarcity of grocery. We're facing a lot of problems.
काफी मुसीबत झेल रहे हैं हम लोग.
In northwestern Bhilwara city, the daily wage workers are collecting scraps from agricultural fields to survive.
We are facing troubles because there is no work to do. We don't have money to even eat food. We had a little rice left, but it's over now. We have no grains left. We are collecting scraps from agricultural fields and we go there every day and somehow fill our stomach.
507 people have died of the novel coronavirus and at least 13,000 infected in the country so far. Modi has taken strict measures to prevent these figures from rising higher. But India could soon be in the grip of a new crisis as a consequence of these very actions.
In another news, in Afghanistan, governor of Eastern KHOST province has escaped a roadside bomb attack. The attack comes a day after 28 Afghan policemen were killed in alleged encounters with the Taliban. The governor's spokesperson said Mohammad Halim Fadei remained unhurt in the explosion near his office. The rescue officials said 5 people, including 2 guards and 3 civilians, were wounded. No one has yet claimed responsibility for this attack. Iran has demanded the U.S. to end their presence in the Persian Gulf, terming American forces an obstacle in normal patrol operations. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Abbas Mousavi said the foreign forces should end their illegitimate presence in the region. Mousavi was responding to U.S. allegations that 11 Iranian military vessels violated international norms as they circled U.S. ships in the Persian Gulf last week. The Revolutionary Guard acknowledged the incident, saying that the U.S. sparked the tense encounter without providing details. Meanwhile, Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps said it has increased the range of its naval missiles from 45 to 700 kilometers. In an interview, IRGC Commander Brigadier General Arize Tangizri said the country did this without any foreign assistance. Syria says it has thwarted an Israeli air attack over the Palmyra city and shot down multiple missiles. The state media says the projectiles were destroyed before reaching their targets. There were no immediate reports of damage or casualties. The attack came only hours after a meeting of President Bashar al-Assad and Iranian Foreign Minister Javad Zarif in Damascus. Since the start of the Syrian conflict in 2011, Israel has carried out hundreds of such attacks. Israel has not claimed responsibility for the raid yet. U.S. President Donald Trump has asked South Korea to pay more in military defense costs while rejecting Seoul's latest offer. U.S. officials earlier said the South Korea's offer included an increase of at least 13% from the previous cost-sharing accord. Trump said the U.S. is doing a tremendous job of defending South Korea, but Washington should be treated fairly. He lauded Washington's wonderful relationship with Seoul before saying his decision was not about reducing the U.S. military forces. He said it is up to Seoul if they wanted to contribute towards the defense of their own nation.
We are negotiating for President Moon and for South Korea to help us monetarily, because we, as you know, we have 32,000 soldiers there. That varies from 28 to 32,000 in South Korea. And we think that Before I came aboard, they paid very little, if anything. So we're defending a wonderful nation, a nation that we have great relationships, but we're asking them to pay for a big percentage of what we're doing. It's not fair.
Furthermore, Trump said he is negotiating with South Korea's President Moon Jae-in to help the U.S. monetarily for its service. Now, moving on in this bulletin, we have the Palestinian Liberation Organization, which has warned against the Israeli annexation of the Palestinian lands after the formation of Tel Aviv's new unity government. PLO Secretary General Saeb Erekat said the annexation will destroy any chances of dialogue between both sides. Erekat said the Tel Aviv administration has an option of opening ways for talks or endangering peace by settlement and annexation. He urged the global community to hold Israel accountable and make it implement its commitments under international law. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has already announced his plans to annex key parts of East Jerusalem and West Bank as per the U.S. Middle East plan. We have a lot more coming up right after this short break, so stay tuned. Welcome back to our news bulletin. Now, in the UK, the House of Commons is trying out its new working arrangements in preparation for MPs' return after Easter break. Speaker Sir Lindsay Hoyle led a rehearsal in which ministers face questions via video link. In the Commons, screens have been installed to allow MPs to speak remotely. The number of members present in the chamber will be limited to about 50 with their seats marked. The new hybrid system will not be used for debating legislation initially, as it is confined to those actually in the chamber. If approved by the MPs, the new practices from tomorrow will initially operate until 12th May. The self-proclaimed Donetsk People's Republic says Ukraine has failed to agree on new arms in disengagement areas again. This comes after the contact group on Ukrainian reconciliation met via a video link to discuss troops pullout. DPR's envoy Alexei Nikolaev said they suggested 4 areas to withdraw troops and weapons in Donbass, but Ukraine rejected all. He said Kiev's stance demonstrates that they have no intention to agree on any of the proposed areas and hampers talks. Fighting between Ukrainian forces and Russia-backed fighters in Donbass has killed more than 30,000 people since 2014. Earlier in November, both sides concluded withdrawing from Petrivske village in the region. In Canada, the death toll from the mass shooting has risen to 19 as police fear the number of fatalities may increase. On Sunday, a gunman dressed as a policeman went on a 12-hour shooting rampage in the eastern province of Nova Scotia. Authorities said a female police officer died fighting the assailant, while another was injured. The 51-year-old suspected shooter was killed by the police. The police identified the gunman as Gabriel Wortman, who worked as a denturist. Police said they have yet to determine the motive. UN agencies have called for support for displaced children in the context of the COVID-19 outbreak. The call was made by UN Children's Fund Executive Director Henrietta Fore and UN High Commissioner for Refugees Filippo Grandi. In a joint statement, they said displaced children have limited access to prevention services, testing, treatment, and other essential support. They said containment measures are likely to have negative consequences for children's safety and education. The statement said more displaced children are now likely to be out of school for a prolonged period, and some may never return. It said millions of children around the world have been driven from their homes and across borders by conflict and violence. The European Commission has launched a data platform for scientists studying the COVID-19 virus. This is a bid to speed up access to data sets and tools in order to bolster research efforts by encouraging data reuse and open science. The Commission said the portal will help researchers store, share, and analyze findings on the pandemic. The data sets will include DNA sequences, protein structures, data from preclinical research and clinical trials, epidemiological data, among others. EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said the portal will help scientists access and share data across borders to find a speedy solution. In South China, the sky lit up at night to welcome the medical staff working on the front line in the fight against COVID-19. People in Zhuhai City have shown their gratitude to medics in a unique way. Let's find out about this in this report.
Zhuhai City sent a 54-member medical team to assist medics in Hubei, the hardest-hit province by the COVID-19 epidemic in the country. When they came back home, they spent 14 days in quarantine. Meanwhile, people in the city planned an amazing welcome for them. 300 drones staged a stunning light show over Sumlodol Hengqing camping town to thank the team.
There are many Hubei people in our company, so we want to do our part to show our genuine gratitude to all medical workers by throwing the drone show.
The medics enjoyed the spectacular drone performance together and were all deeply moved by the gratitude and messages delivered through the show.
One is the pattern of removing the mask and the other one is love in Jiangguolu. That impressed me a lot because they took care of us during the past 14 days during the quarantine.
The first patient of new coronavirus was diagnosed in Wuhan City in Hubei province. Thanks to these medics, the Hubei has no infection cases anymore and has been reopened after a strict lockdown.
Staff at the Swerby Hall and Garden Zoo in England are holding a party for Rosie the penguin to celebrate her 30th birthday. The zoo remains closed to visitors due to coronavirus lockdown, but the staff say they want to mark the special occasion for both the penguin and the zoo with a party and plenty of fish. Head zookeeper John Pickering said Rosie arrived at Swerby in 1990 and has successfully had chicks over the years. Rosie is a Humboldt penguin, which in the wild has a life expectancy of 15 to 20 years. Staff believe she could be one of the oldest penguins in the United Kingdom. Oil price has recovered from a historic crash as US WTI crude clawed out of negative territory to over $1 per barrel. US crude crashed into negative territory for the first time in history, tumbling over 300% to below minus $40 a barrel. The price tumbled following a sell-off in May futures as the contract was set to expire today. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump said his administration will look at a proposal to block Saudi Arabian oil shipments to the US. Trump said the historic fall in oil prices brought short-term financial squeeze on traders. He added his administration will top up the nation's strategic petroleum reserves. Trump said Department of Energy will lease about 77 million barrels of available space in the reserve to U.S. oil companies to help them deal with storage shortages. China has criticized India's new foreign direct investment policy, saying it is against principles of the World Trade Organization. Last week, India stepped up scrutiny of investments from companies based in neighboring countries, mainly targeting Beijing. In a statement, China's embassy in New Delhi said the rules are based on discrimination and are against free and fair trade. The embassy spokesperson Ji Rong said new rules are making it much more difficult for neighboring states to invest in India. She said China's investment in India is over $8 billion, which is far more than total investments of other neighbors. The spokesperson said the impact of Delhi's new policy on Chinese investors is clear. Virgin Australia has confirmed it has entered voluntary administration, making it country's first big corporate casualty of COVID-19 pandemic. Australia's second largest carrier slashed almost all flights last month following widespread travel bans. Addressing media, corporate chief executive Paul Surkara said the decision is about securing the future of Virgin Australia Group. The airline is now seeking new buyers and investors after failing to get a loan from the government. It employs about 10,000 people directly and another 6,000 through ancillary businesses. Administrator Deloitte said more than 10 parties have already expressed an interest in reviving the carrier. China's central bank has announced it is conducting tests of a digital yuan payment system in 4 of its cities. The People's Bank of China has said it is implementing internal closed trials of the central bank's electronic payment system. It said Beijing plans to pilot the system at future Winter Olympics venues. The bank said the electronic payment system remains in a period of research and development, and digital yuan has not been issued officially yet. The bank said tests will not affect yuan issuance, circulation, or financial markets outside the testing environment. European stocks are trading sharply lower as oil market volatility and coronavirus outbreak continues to weigh on investors' sentiments. CAC 40 in Paris and Frankfurt's DAX has lost over 2% each. London's FTSE 100 is trading over 1.5% lower. In Asia, Hong Kong's Hang Seng led the losses, closing over 2% lower. Nikkei 225 closed about 2% lower as fast retailing and SoftBank Group stocks dropped 2% each. Shanghai Composite lost ground. Now let's look at the weather from around the globe. This is all for now. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at indus.news.